Hi, my name is Chris Ray. I don't actually have a Donald Trump hairstyle, it just sort of went that way with the wind. I have solved an electrical problem on a toy submarine I have. I'm not an electrical engineer, I don't know anything about electrics really, and I'm wondering if somebody who knows more about it can tell me how I solved this problem. This is a remote controlled submarine called a Dory. It's made by a company called Chasing, and the way it works is you've got this little sub, it's like a toy end of remote control submarines. You've got 15 meters, 50 feet of cable, and that connects up to this buoy that sits on the surface, and you connect to that via Wi-Fi. And you plug the two of them together, the power comes from the Dory in it, and then you get a green light on the Dory, you get a green light on the Wi-Fi buoy, and then you connect it on your phone, you control it from your phone, and you can go around taking pictures of fish. It's pretty fun. Anyway, so I brought it here, I threw it off these very rocks. I took a very nice 1 hour video, and then I got back to the house, and when I plugged it in, I got a red light on the Dory, and I got no light whatsoever on the Wi-Fi buoy, which was sad. So I got in touch with Chasing, and they said, yeah, your Wi-Fi buoy is broken, you'll have to send it back and we'll send you another one. And so they actually shipped me another one, but that is arriving the day after I leave Greece. And so at this point, on a trip where we were supposed to be packing light, I have a whole radio-controlled submarine that was unpopular at the time. And it's definitely very unpopular now that it doesn't work. And I thought, well, seeing as the buoy part is not serviceable, it can't be taken apart, but it's also going in the bin as soon as I get this other one, I'm just going to hack it apart and see if I can learn anything whatsoever from it. So I borrowed a hacksaw from my sister-in-law, and I borrowed some miniature screwdrivers from my sister-in-law, and I took this thing apart. And the first thing I noticed was that there was a bolt, which I've now put back on, but which here was not attached to the part where the connector comes into the Dory, to the Wi-Fi buoy. So I thought maybe that had, you know, when that had undone, me twisting this to tighten it had pulled out some cables at the bottom here. That unfortunately wasn't true. And then when I was doing that, I noticed that the main board didn't look like I thought it was supposed to look. It had this kind of weighty stuff all over it. And I went to the internet, there's a Facebook group for these things, and they said, oh yeah, that's completely broken, you need to send it back to Chasing and they'll send you another one. And I carried on looking at more internet, and it seemed like I could actually remove some of this corrosion by getting some distilled water in a toothbrush and pouring the distilled water on it and then rubbing it gently with a toothbrush and then drying it. Well, there's plenty of drying I can do here. So I got the distilled water, I got the toothbrush, I cleaned it off, and I got different behaviour. So I got red light on the Dory. I don't know if you can see that. It's got no light right now, but I'm just going to ignore that. I got red light on the Dory, and I got a flickering green light on the buoy. And so, well, you know, that was kind of different behaviour. And I noticed with the flickering green light, there's another, I don't know if you can see it here, but there's another light on the main board itself. There, can you see that? That said it was just like power to the main board, and that was flickering. So I thought, well, if it's not getting consistent power, maybe this capacitor, which is the only thing that's on this thing really, is some sort of power regulator, and it's not working. And I was fiddling around with the capacitor, and I noticed that if I was to like grab it with my fingers, that green light went kind of solid. You can probably see that there. And then after a little while, I would get a green light on the other end of the Dory. I would get a pulsing green light on the buoy. There it is. And I can show you, give me 1 second, because shortly after I let go of this, the green light on the Dory is going to go off. But there is the green light on the Dory, but now that I've let go of it, it's going to go off again. So I was kind of excited at this point, because I feel like I've got a solution. I mean, I could use it as long as I've got 2 fingers on this thing, and obviously I can't put the buoy in the water anymore. But that's fine, I've got this big long cable, and I can still, you know, send it out a little bit. So I thought the 2 things that might be happening were I could be earthing it by putting my finger on it, or I could be heating it up. Sorry, 3 things. I could be earthing it, I could be heating it up, or I could be, you know, just wiggling that component. And so I can't really demonstrate it here, but to test the wiggling, I pushed it with all sorts of other things. I had the board out of it, and I lifted the whole thing up by the capacitor, or whatever that thing is, and it was all still working fine. So I was pretty sure that it wasn't like a loose connection. And so to test the earthing, I got this this earthing tool from my mother-in-law, who at this point I think was wondering what on earth I was doing. And I touched the capacitor with it. Sorry, I'm not used to doing this. Touched the capacitor with it. I'm on the capacitor there, and you can see the green light. It makes pretty much no difference whatsoever, and the green light's still flickering. And then to test whether it was heating up, I just left it in the sun for a while, and that didn't make any difference whatsoever. So I was doing none of those things, but it was definitely something to do with you know, my hand being on it. So I posted on Facebook, because I've got a bunch of friends that are engineers of some sort. They were all pretty useless really. They all told me that they had no idea what was happening, and that I definitely had a loose capacitor, and I just didn't realise that I was holding it that way. So off I went into the fridge downstairs, my mother-in-law now getting even more perplexed about what's going on, and I took out a couple of things, and I thought, well, you know, how do I replicate my hand being on this thing? So I got some raw chicken, but the raw chicken was going to make like a real gooey mess all over the board, and I tried putting it in a bag and sticking it on top of the capacitor, but it didn't make any difference. And so I thought maybe I could use a banana. So I got a banana and I pressed the skin of it against the capacitor, but it really made no difference whatsoever. And then I got some bread and I put some bread on it, and lo and behold, it actually ran for 20 minutes with this piece of bread sitting on top of the capacitor. And so at that point I was really quite excited, because, you know, I have a solution, I just need to productionalize it. And so I made this, which I've been calling a bread pacitor. So it's a bottle top with some bread stuffed in it. You maybe can't see that very easily, but you'll have to trust me, there's some bread stuffed in there. And then I've got a piece of paper that leaves a hole just the right size to go over the top of the capacitor in there. And I put some sticky tape around it so that it wouldn't, the water, so that the paper wouldn't actually get wet. So let's have to swap hands again. So if I now put this bread capacitor on top of the capacitor, a second, you look at the light, you will see that the light is now flickering a lot faster. And I thought, well, given it worked the first time with the bread, maybe the problem was that this bread had dried out. And so I don't know how I'm going to do this with one hand, but okay, so I got the bread capacitor, and I got some of the distilled water I'd used to clean the main board, and I poured the distilled water into the hole, and as you can see it sort of floods over, and then I leave it a little while to soak into the bread. That's probably enough actually. And then I'll just shake out the excess, because as I say, I don't want to wet this board. I'm just going to look at the sun for just a second to dry off these bits of sticky tape around here. I don't know if these waves are not going to hit me. And if I look in it, yeah, that's kind of damp. So that's where I want it. So now we can look at this. I don't know if you can see the. Where is that? Let's do this very scientifically here. Let's see, we'll get this green light. There's a flickering green light. See it? So now I'll put the bread capacitor on here. Cover up the capacitor with it, and you can see the green light has actually gone pretty solid now. So I should at that point have a pulsing green light on the side of the unit. There it is. And if I look down at the dory itself, I will have a green light. So this thing is now operational. So I have about 20 minutes from past experience. So I'm going to throw it into the Aegean. The Aegean comes to meet me. I'm going to connect to it with my phone, and then I can switch on the motors, and I can dive, I can run the video, and I can use this for about 20 minutes, and then the bread will dry out and I have to wet it again. As I said at the beginning, I have no idea why this works. I think there's going to be a much simpler way of getting this running. If anyone has any idea how to make this work, or how I did make it work, then please let me know in the comments below.